Now in our country, government is one of the largest litigants, and most of the disputes can be settled. However, the government does not seem bent towards using mediation as a tool, to use with other mechanisms. Should the upcoming contracts, be it public or private, compulsorily have multiple tiers of resolution mechanisms and maybe promote mediation or med arb med over simply arbitration and litigation?
So government, if you ask me as a mediator and as somebody who looks at resolution of corporate disputes, the answer would be yes. But there are inherent challenges in the hierarchy of the government. And also because I think government deals with public interest. Eventually, when you're looking at, it's in public domain. So from the issue of being challenged to how decisions are taken, are decisions taken in the interest of the government, they become a very tricky solution. How do you find a solution to that? So while there are several, we can look at it ideally, we can in an ideal world say, yes, the chief secretary or the MLA or whoever it is can take a decision and that decision should be binding. But that is also then challenged, that can be challenged in any court of law saying it's against public interest. The minute you take that view, then, and if there is a decision taken by the courts that it's against public interest, then would any public authority or any public official want to take a decision, want to stick its neck out? So I think it is possible to have government contracts also mediated, but only if there's a process set up by the government to insulate the person who is at the helm of the mediation discussions. Once you insulate them and you make the decision making process easier and more structural, I think that's when you can actually bring in government contracts into the mediation fold. And even if you do med arb or arb med arb, the arbitrator might send the matter to mediation or it might go through mediation. But if a government official is not in a position to take a decision or take a call and saying, I want to mediate, whether I do standalone private mediation or arb med arb or med arb med, the government contracts will seldom see any conclusion at mediation.
Yeah.
Because the government will say, this is what I can give you. Beyond this, there's nothing else. And I'm not going to take a call beyond this because then it's not something that I can do.
But maybe let's hope in future maybe a chunk of contracts or chunk of disputes get settled so that it reduces
I
the
think I
burden
think
on
I think it could get settled if you actually put in a committee, some sort of structure. I'll give an example. At least for my mind, it probably works. If the government constitutes committees for different departments, etc., which includes officials, includes maybe retired bureaucrats, includes a couple of mediators as well, where the minute there's a contractual dispute, okay, it is referred there to say that is it settleable, non-settleable. If it is non-settleable, it doesn't get into mediation. If it can be mediated, the person who's front ending the mediation is given a set of guidelines within which the person can mediate and settle. And the regulation, so there needs to be a regulation which says that once this mediation has happened, as per the guidelines proposed by the committee, that mediation cannot be questioned and will not be open to public scrutiny also, because it's a private contract. Then it's not a public contract.
Yeah.
Because even in government contracts, there are some contracts, especially if they go through a tender process, the process of tender might be there, but once an agreement is signed, it's a private agreement. Then you also have the difference between the government wearing a private hat and the government holding a public hat.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the minute you say those contracts, like in the disputes in those contracts will be settled as per a particular regulation. The regulation has a process which sets out the mechanisms for giving guidelines to the respective person who is front ending it. And once, as per the committee's guidelines, if this is settlement happens, it's a private settlement.
That's actually
it works then. To my mind, it really works because then it's you're insulating the person who's front ending the conversation, and also you're not giving absolute power to the person who's front ending it.
Yeah.
There is a well thought of machinery behind who said these are the parameters, now go settle.
No, that's actually a great suggestion, and I really hope something happens in this area. Now, talking about virtual dispute resolution. Now, virtual arbitration was a niche practice in the manner that maybe all the members in the arbitration are sitting at a place and the witness is at some other place. So in that way, arbitration used to happen. However, now virtual arbitrations and also court hearings, virtual court hearings have picked up. Majority of the senior counsels, judges, and lawyers did not really seem to prefer virtual arbitration or litigation previously. But nowadays, we see every other person talking about conducting virtual hearings. And but in the real world, courts have been always burdened with cases, and post these lockdowns, we are sure to see a surge in disputes. Do you think mediation has a chance to grow exponentially by saving the day and helping the parties to resolve effectively, being a tool, or maybe the judiciary can embrace mediation? What should be the road ahead?
So if you look, I think it's not just post lockdown, but I think mediation as a tool, even whether you talk about ODR or virtual, I think has always been a great tool. You know, it's just the recognition is something that was not really coming forward. In today's, if you look at disputes today, and because of lockdown, some of the disputes are not really intentional. So it's not that I have breached voluntarily. It's because either the language was of the contract was not drafted adequately, but you don't have the question of intent, which is really involved. It is something which is circumstantial. Now, in circumstantial, and if you want to really, as you said, preserve relationships, like I have a great vendor, I want to preserve a relationship. Litigation can actually send a wrong signal to the other party. And it can actually prevent another party to want to do business with you in the future. So therefore, you know, when you look at mediation, it's dialogue, it's a conversation. You're not talking about my right versus your right. You're not talking about contractual provisions. You're not accusing somebody of default, of breach, of fraud. So the accusations are not there. So you're not looking at somebody you're not objectifying your contract. You're dealing with the relationship. You're talking about, I understand that there's a scenario now. We can't face it. I know you have challenges. I know I have challenges. Let's talk. I know we're not able to talk with each other openly. Let's see if somebody else can help us see where we can probably take our relationship in the future. Maybe this contract will not work, but let's at least talk about how we can continue engaging in dialogue. Both parties will benefit out of that, not just today, but also in the future, maybe in a post-COVID scenario. They may be able to take up that contract later on. Maybe they'll enter into new contracts. Because see, also if you look at litigation, whether it's arbitration or litigation, it is only talking about, it's only defining and interpreting the dispute or the conflict that you have in the words you have put forward. So if you say, I want you to decide on whether there's been a breach of the contract, whether a force majeure has happened, okay, does the person have to pay? The limited scope of what the arbitrator or the judge will look at is only that.
Yeah.
But if you move it into mediation, it's beyond the contract. Sometimes the contract is not even discussed. Sometimes it's about, okay, fine, there's a force majeure. But what do we want to do? Are we looking at rights? Are we looking at payment obligations? Are we looking at something more? And you can actually come through newer contracts, newer strategies, newer issues which are beyond what the contract itself provides. So therefore, you can actually widen the scope of what the parties can even talk about.
True. Now, as my last question, now as mediation is a beautiful, resolution mechanism. As a mediator, also, what do you think, or where do you think that this mediation is lacking somewhere, or why are parties not really comfortable to choose mediation? Is awareness a problem? And what do you think is the future of dispute resolution in India? And should mediation be the new appropriate dispute resolution mechanism?
So I'll answer the last question, the last bit of the thing first. Is mediation the appropriate method of dispute resolution? I think it's very difficult to say it's appropriate, but it has to be an integral part of dispute resolution. It's something that parties should seriously consider. It may not always be appropriate. It again depends on facts, circumstances. It depends on what the parties are really looking for and what they need. So as a dispute strategy, mediation should always be thought about and seriously considered by the parties. But is it appropriate? I think the parties will need to do their vatna. They have to figure out, take their risk, evaluate their risk, evaluate everything, and then take a call on what is the most appropriate, dispute resolution strategy, and whether mediation is something that they need to look at as a first instance. Second thing, in terms of awareness. I think so. If lawyers itself are not aware of mediation, to expect parties to be aware of it, is something which is we're really expecting too much. Especially if you look at the kind of disputes that come in. I'm saying even if you're looking at disputes on commercial disputes, or even commercial disputes, there are lots of commercial disputes that happen in tier 2, tier 3 cities that we don't even talk about. You have your retailer disputes, you have consumer disputes, you have landlord tenant disputes, of agricultural lands. It could be between shopkeepers, it could be so many, and that is a large chunk of disputes which are happening in T2, tier 3 cities, which are happening in the unorganized sectors. You have commercial disputes that happen with SMEs. Now, all of them, they're dealt with under different statutes, different regulations, different platforms. And awareness at each of those levels are very different in terms of what is the recourse and relief that is available. And everybody talks about, when you're looking at anything which is impacting your rights, you go to court. So I think so a subconscious element is, I have been wronged, I need to go to court. Now, you need to pause. So the thing is, so that's a natural reaction. And you cannot tell somebody to think that, let go of your anger, let go of your frustration, and you now need to think about mediation. So but if you put a pause there and you get them to think that, I understand you've been wronged, I understand, but what is the court going to give you? Do you really need to go to court? Is there an option B? Where does a pause happen? Today, we don't have anything that does a pause. Now, if a lawyer, and this is the biggest challenge for counsels like us, is that if we try to be that pause and saying, hey, the immediate reaction is, do we have a weak case? Are we going to lose? Okay. You don't believe me? Okay. Do you think I'm lying? So, there are lots of questions that come to trust. There's an element of trust. There's an element of confidence in the process. There's an element of confidence in the matter itself. So you might have confidence in matter. It might be a matter which will probably, if you fight it out for 6 years, you will win because it's a fantastic case. But is it worth it? Now, that's not a call that is it worth it, that the lawyer can always say that, is it worth it? So you need to have somebody who's that interventionist in the middle. Now, who becomes interventionist? The interventionist, if you go to court, the judge is interventionist. The judge says, yeah, no, theek hai, but you go talk. So either it goes to judge, and strangely, actually, if you look at a lot of our high court and other court rules, requires that once the filings are made, the judge has to tell the parties that you go mediate. But that conversation never happens.
Never.
Okay, so it is quoted. We have laws which say, judge, you tell the parties about mediation, but it doesn't happen. How do you enforce that? How do you implement that? Okay, so that's one. Second thing is, do you say that, okay, fine, the minute you file something in court, you don't even go before a judge, you go through a mediation counseling or a mediation session where you have a mediator who tells you benefits of mediation, which could be either, you can call it like, it's a pre-institutional mediation, you can call it mediation counseling, you can call it whatever you want. But the parties are said, you file, you have to attend this one session mandatorily, which will tell you about what mediation is. It tells you the kind of things that you can expect out of mediation, and you take a call then. Do you want to do mediation or you want to go through court? Parties then choose at that point, after they go through that first mediation counseling, they choose whether they want to go to mediation or they go to court. Third option is, you say, I don't care about anything. The minute you go for it, you have to go for one session of mediation.
Yeah.
Okay. If that doesn't happen, then you go to court. So I'm saying there are ways, but the intervention needs to come somewhere, because a party by itself, unless they're very aware and they've been through mediation or they're very happy about it, very rarely are they going to say yes, unless they know they have a terrible case and they would rather settle at anything, because they know eventually if they lose, that will be a disaster. But otherwise, even for a party who has a strong case, you need to tell them about the pros and cons, get them to think about their risk analysis, their cost benefit analysis, and that requires intervention.
Yeah. Thank you. Actually, you are right that we have it in our code, but it's the implementation, and maybe the court or we need to figure out a way how to get that intervention we can say, enforceable to the party.
No, and even also just adding to that, since again coming back to virtual mediation when we're talking about, even in the court annex mediation system, which unfortunately today we require, when you have court annex mediation, you go to the court annex mediation center, and there's a physical mediation that has to happen there. I think even in a court annex mediation center, if flexibility can be brought about, saying that maybe you'll have it is between the parties and the mediators. You can even structure a virtual mediation even there. It doesn't have to be online. It could be online. It could be ODR. It could be physical plus virtual. It could mean the first meeting between the mediator and the parties may be physical, but thereafter it goes through phone, through Skype, through whatever it is. So it becomes convenient, because if even if you look at litigants in the country, not all litigants are in the same place at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay, so even in a case which might be filed in, say, the Hyderabad civil courts, I could have parties. The parties could be, one could be in Bombay, one could be in Delhi. So to expect them to come every time to travel for mediation is also a reason why parties won't do for it, because it just doesn't make sense logistically.
Yeah. To that extent, I would like to mention that at CMC we are affiliated to the Bombay High Court, and we have successfully successfully concluded court annex mediation remotely.
Oh, that's lovely. That's lovely to hear. And I think that should become, if that becomes a practice with all court annex mediation centers, that you have, even if you're going through a court annex mediation, you can do it remotely. You can do it, using all available tools. I think parties will be more willing to take it forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time and such valuable insights. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Siddharth. It was lovely speaking to you.